So we've completed this, basically a side view of one of the first airplanes, and we've completed taking that airplane and showing it off the ground, up in flight this way, as well as the shadow down below. So again, we've accomplished that. But what I found fascinating about the Wasson brothers is the fact they did cars. And we're going to do 2 sets of cars. This is one of their early race cars. This is the one we'll finish with, but we'll work up slowly to that with this one. Okay. Again, go back to your sketch pad, your full pad, break it in half. Okay, and we're going to focus just on the top area here. Now, this fascinating vehicle. One of the things that happened when the aviation industry was starting, and Wasson was no different, nor was the Wright brothers, is they had to build motors for their vehicles, for their airplanes. So the same thing is true when they did into cars. They built their own motors. So part of the test of their ability to sell these vehicles was, could their engines last in a race? So there were a lot of races. In the same way there were contests for the aviation guys, the automotive guys in the early days all had like cross-country races or Grand Prix races, and this is one of the early cars. This is a 1923 Wasson race car called the CV6. It's considered one of the first true monocoque chassis. Monocoque chassis means the body and the frame are all one construction. There's not like a body and a frame that's put together. It's basically one type of vehicle. What was interesting about this car was, unfortunately, the Wasson brothers didn't have a very fast motor, but they needed to get some competition. They needed to get their vehicle out there to get some kind of press. When, again, like any business, if you have good press, you're also going to get potential for bank loans, and people are interested in investing in your company. So early days of aviation and early days of automotive, no different. So they all built race cars. Unfortunately, their engine wasn't so good. It was not a very fast motor. So they hired a designer to come in and to create the most aerodynamic shape that they could think of. So hopefully the aerodynamic shape would be their competitive advantage on an engine that wasn't going to compete with the Bentleys and some of the other vehicles. So that's why it has this really interesting sort of teardrop shape to it. Flat bottom, teardrop shape. And again, what makes these cars by Wasson interesting was that they started in business as plane manufacturers. So you see a lot of aircraft quality. There's rivets. They kind of built their cars like airplanes. So it's kind of a fascinating way they did this. So let's go ahead and look at the side view. Again, always start with a side view on your vehicle. And again, doing cars is actually, it's kind of easy, because what you're looking at is, you first of all, just like we draw people, you draw circles to get to the head. With cars, it's the same way. So with a car design, start with the ground line here. We'll put a wheel here, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, this wheel is about here someplace. So in the same way that you would actually, create a person's body, right? Here's the head, and you have like an 8-tall kind of person, and their body comes out like this, given the amount of circles you use. Cars are very the same way, except they just go back and forth between the axles, okay? So we know that this tire is this tall. Proportionally now, the portion of half that tire is about the height of this vehicle, so you can put a line up here. Again, and then the back goes further back here, so you get this nice sweep to here. We've got a person here. There's the center. See, they got their center like sort of like a rub strip, but that's the center of the vehicle. Okay. What's also interesting about, not only was it built out of aluminum, the exterior was built from aluminum, but the frame, the inside of it, was actually built with wood, ash wood. So as we sort of organize this vehicle, it's not too much taller over the top of the wheels. And I always like putting in people into the vehicles, just very lightly, a little indication of some eyes, cap. Again, you don't see too many helmets. These guys safety was not one of their deals. That came much later in the aviation or automotive industry. And here's this sleeve hanging over the edge, and got this big steering wheel. Reason for the big steering wheel is also torque. They didn't have power steering, So you got this, and this, you barely see somebody else back there. Usually in race cars, there were two people. There's a driver and what they call a mechanic was also part of this. So here we have our driver, the seat. Comes around here. There's this piece here. This kind of comes up and it does this. This is the engine cover. We'll see more details when we do the 3/4 view, but here's the side view. Getting the proportions down. And to make the tire, we can just keep making these circles go round and round, making smaller circles to bigger circles. See that? So if we just keep going around in circles, smaller circle to bigger circle, smaller to bigger, and that becomes our tires. Now tires also are interesting because they're shaped. A tire is shaped kind of like this. Here's your wheel. So when the sun hits it, the top of the tire is going to have a highlight, and the bottom of the tire is going to be dark. There's a cross section of a tire here, so we can actually put a little bit of dark on the base of this here and a little bit at the bottom. Okay, and then these are called knockoffs. They're just a little, like a screw on the side of the thing. Again, no spokes yet. I mean, that happens later. This is a piece of wood through here. A couple of details. Maybe this is where they put the gasoline. It's a little square here. Goes over the top. We could put in the number 5. They built a lot more planes than they built this car. And this car was meant as a race car to be put out into to bid in races to get notoriety. But you can see the reason I see the air flows this way. So your airflow, they were very much concerned about airflow. Again, these are plane guys. So they learned how to build things, building planes. And then we'll take the outline, make it a little darker. And so there, and we can put a little bit of a shadow down here, maybe not too much. You get a little shadow where his sleeve is. We'll go ahead and make him into a dark suit, so there's that contrast. A little bit of a tan here. Let's get a little shadow under the hat. A bit of shadow here. So pretty simple, actually a very simple shape. Also the tires, you get a little bit of shadow down at the bottom of the tire, or the wheel I should say. This is the wheel. So you can put a little bit of shadow underneath the wheel. Keep this nice and bright at the top. So generally when you do a side view of the vehicle, the top of the vehicle you stay nice and light. And the bottom you can make a little darker, just a slight dark kind of reflection to it like this. And it kind of just really shows off the upper part of the vehicle. Hard lines, strong tires. There. Then we got our what was on? CV6. Okay.